Okay, welcome everybody to our first meeting of 2019. Happy New Year to everyone who is here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the, all right, Graham, back to, thanks to the senior scene for letting us use their building once again. So I'll call the meeting to order. It is a little late, about 7:06, I believe, by that clock. I would also like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 land and the traditional homeland of the Métis people. Introductions around the table, starting with Irwin.
Good evening, everyone. Irwin Kumpke is my name. We have a cottage over at Albert Beach, and it's great to see so many people coming out on this cool winter night.
Hello, everyone. I'm Graham Randall. I live at Wanasing.
Penny McMorris. I'm over here in the restricted area.
Raymond Morrow, CAO.
Steve Axworthy over on 5th.
And Happy New Year, everyone. Mike Bartmanovich, and I'm in Pine Glen.
Thank you, everybody. All right, we do not have a committee of the whole, so we have an adoption of the agenda. Do we have a resolution? Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted with the following additions: holdback release for the Albert Beach Dike project, funding request for the Victoria Beach 100th anniversary interpretive panels, and an update on the highway welcome sign. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Kumka. Are there any further additions or deletions to the agenda? There is one deletion. Mr. Lester is not coming as a delegation, but we'll deal with him further, his issue further down in the agenda. Any other additions?
One addition, just a mention of our new employee, Elaine Fletcher.
All right. Thank you very much. So be it resolved, the agenda be adopted with the following additions: the holdback release at the Albert Beach Dike, funding request for the Victoria Beach 100th anniversary interpretive panels, highway welcome sign, and notice of new employee Elaine Fletcher. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Minutes of the December 18th, 2018 regular meeting of council were circulated to all council members. Be it resolved that the minutes of the December 18th, 2018 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. Steve and Mike, please. Moved by Councillor Axworthy, seconded by Councillor Bartmanovich, that the minutes of the December 18th, 2018 regular council meeting be adopted as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to our first delegation and only delegation of the evening, Mr. Matt Metcalf. Would you like to use the mic, Matt?
Test. We're ready to roll. Okay, just like to say thanks for taking the time out tonight, Reeve and all the councillors, to listen to what I have to say. And I don't know if you've had a chance. I sent this purpose of this delegation meeting with myself tonight out on Sunday, so you guys could take a chance to review it. So I don't know if all of you have had a chance to take a look at it. Okay, so what I'd like to do is just kind of go through some of the key points in it, just for the listening audience as well too there. So the purpose is to ensure that existing trails within the RMVB, particularly on the west side of 504, remain multi-purpose trails and do not become trails that are exclusive to groomed cross-country ski trails only. I am here to represent the voice of the multi-use, as the voice that seems to have the council's ear right now is that of Michael Kraus and exclusivity. So I'm going to give a little bit of history here. There have been existing trails and paths in behind the bush to the west of the senior scene, paths between the gravel pit and the VB Community Center, and the area in between as you move towards 8th Avenue. And also the Macaulay Path existed for years as original horse and cutter paths and multi-use paths. These uses included hiking, skiing, horseback riding, biking, snowshoeing, and snowmobiling. The snowmobiles have been using all of these paths for at least 60 years, with the Victoria Beach Snowdrifters being in existence for 56 years. The Victoria Beach Snowdrifters' priority as it exists today is for the designated snowman trails. There has always been a community spirit of coexistence with mutual respect for all enthusiasts, no matter what you are using and being utilized on these trails. So a little bit of history with myself. From 1999 to 2019, 20 years, I've been a respected snowmobiler in the beach and surrounding areas, ensuring that there was respect and coexistence on the trails. From 2010 to 2019, 10 years, I've been a cross-country skier using the golf course with man-made trails, as well as the bush paths to enjoy skiing at least 2 or more times per week. From 2015 to 2019, when I desired a dedicated cross-country groomed trail, I would either go to Pine Falls, Grand Beach, or Windsor Park cross-country trails. In 2018, we took Ron Ritzma over for us one day of skiing to Pine Falls to explore what a groomed trail network is and how they required their own land to make their own dedicated trails with a warm-up shack and washroom facilities. Michael Kraus and Ron Ritzma purchased a very expensive groomer with their own funds and their own agenda and began grooming the bush trails. Additionally, they began grooming the golf course. First time was prior to approval from the RMVB Council. We have texts from Ron Ritzman that state once VB cross country becomes popular, members will undoubtedly demand exclusivity on our multi-use trails. Ron, as a snowmobiler himself, should know the history of snowmobiling these trails in the RM. We have knowledge of phone calls made by Ron to other cottagers demanding that their families stay off these trails, as they're his trails, he claims. We met Ron on the trails out skiing, and he was so angry that his trails are continually being driven over by snowmobiles. He was unable to answer the rhetorical question of what has he learned from this, knowing very well that the fact exists that there are many snowmobilers in the VB area, and a good number of them enjoy the slow and go and warmth of bush trails for the sheer enjoyment of nature. As one of the most regular skiers in the area, I know there are less than 5 regular skiers in the area and approximately a dozen not so regular skiers that may ski once or twice a month in the area. Patty Ulrich has communicated with the RMVB Council, Old Council, in the winter of 2018 regarding our concerns around the volatility and language leaning towards exclusivity demands. Patty communicated again late this past fall with the same concerns, ensuring that the new council was apprised of our concerns. Boxing Day 2018, a 3-foot-high barricade being 12-foot-long logs tied together with wire and multiple pine boughs, branches, and then wired into the hydro guide wire to the north of the garbage bins was placed on the trail on the RMVB property. Police report was made, and they found this to be very concerning. Frankly, the sheer stupidity of this act speaks volumes. We removed the barrier immediately. Of course, I'm not positive who had done this, but with a little driving around that evening and the next morning and talking to some people, I have some very clear suspicions of whom the negligent individual is. This to me is an indirect statement of demanding exclusivity. If my suspicions are correct, I wonder why council would support with an MOU individuals that were issued a cease and desist order last year, as well as set up a hazardous barrier with such negligent intent and potential for serious injury this year. This speaks volume as far as trust and transparency goes. Steve Axworthy has informed us that there are people out there that believe this hazard was set up by snowmobilers. This is absolutely ridiculous, as they would have no motivation to do such, and there is no snowmobiler out there that would set out and intentionally harm anyone on the trails. I know that Ron Ritzma, being a snowmobiler himself, would not have done this, and he was not even at the beach on Boxing Day. So that leaves one other person that is trying to forward the blame to the snowmobilers. We all know that this is a guilty party trying to deflect away from their guilt. Feel free to speak with me after in private, and I can confirm suspicions with a variety of facts. Now, considering exclusivity, I would again like to ensure that the RM is not considering allowing exclusivity to the groomers on these trails, or they are grooming the entire golf course. Why do they need anything else? Trans-Canada Trail. It is my understanding that the Trans-Canada Trail system allows for their multi-purpose enthusiasts on their trail, which includes the Macaulay Path. Consideration for the entire population. The simple purchase of a piece of equipment does not give anyone the right to exclusivity. I, as a multi-taxpayer paying resident, hope that you have the courage to strongly consider the voices and desires of all residents, and not just the voice of Michael Kraus and Ron Wichma and their very small splinter group. I urge you to take a serious look at the 100-plus year history of the trail, 60 years history of snowmobiling in the RM, and the multiple types of users on the trails, as well as the numerous forms of users from the entire RM as you consider your roles as they relate to the groomers and the multi-purpose trail system in the RM. More specifically, the trails mentioned above. So what I've got here, we put something on Facebook to ask if anybody had any comments and things. So we had comments. We live in the Hamptons in North VB. We don't often use the facilities inside the gate, but agree principle that paths should be multi-use. That's our vote. The Coolies. Shelley, I'm in favor of the majority of trails being multi-use. I would like to see groomed ski trails somewhere in the RM. There's room for both. Joyce Thomas, I believe paths should be multi-use. Independently altering these paths and putting up blockades and wire is very dangerous. Nobody should get hurt. Our family has been Victoria Beach cottage owners at VB for close to 60 years. Please, to the council, truly consider how a small percentage of population is ignorantly trying to change what is a beautiful culture at VB and their own personal needs. To demand exclusivity on a marginal outdoor activity is idiotic. Here's a question with a multi-use trail. If you groom a multi-use trail, do not be surprised if other coexisting user groups arrive. Other users would be walkers, hikers, winter joggers, fat tire biking, and snowmobiling. All need to respect with other groups and learn to coexist. The concept of self-entitled trail grooming does not mean exclusivity, and you need to do your homework on the historical community user group. Snowmobiling has been in Victoria Beach for 60 years. The snowman trails are just one portion of the numerous snowmobile trails being used in the community. Chantal Wilson. I have been reading the posts online regarding the exclusive cross-country ski issue, and although I don't personally use these trails in the winter, I do feel very strong against a few people digging in their heels to claim exclusive rights to any part of the Victoria Beach property. We have enough of that exclusivity garbage during the summer months. There is really no need to bring any more of it into the mix. We pay taxes just like the rest of them, and if they start allowing people claiming exclusive rights to trails, paths, beaches, and more, what will we be left with? The beauty of Victoria Beach will cease to exist if we allow these people to claim rights to this. Where does it stop? And quite frankly, why can't we all just be adults and acknowledge there are various groups and that we can all play together? Now, to get to the point of these certain individuals who deliberately barricaded an area with the intent to hurt goes far and beyond the proper human behavior. Without question, they should be charged with mischief and intent to cause bodily harm. Furthermore, the council, Reeve, or whoever else in the decision makers should shut this idea down based on this fact alone, that these people took matters into their own hand and decided to put these barricades up. Victoria Beach is a beautiful place. There are trails winding in and out of the forest, allowing us to enjoy the beauty of the past. This of course takes time, money, and permission to clear out some trees and groom their trails. I trust the decision-making people will take the comments into consideration to make a fair decision. So also, on the Facebook, and I'm sure some of you have already read everything on it, there was a poll by Josh Krev. I don't know who this individual is, and he said, let's solve this once and for all, and how should the trails be used? There were three choices: multi-use trails, fat bike, snowmobile, snowshoe, unicycle, etc., cross-country skiing only, and just, I don't care, just here to complain. So we all know that Facebook is just an op forum. However, an individual put this poll up, and the results prove very interesting, and at least show or indicate a trend. By the way, also when this poll was happening, someone also worried about the poll. They contacted the site administrator to have it taken down. So the results, multi-use trails, 77 people, that's what they preferred multi-use trails. Cross-country skiing only, 5 individuals. And I don't care, or just here to complain, 3 individuals. Okay? So we've got 77 people that just happen to be on there and say multi-use trails to keep it as a community. You've got 5 people saying cross-country ski people or trails only. So my recommendation from this side, simply allow the groomers to continue to groom the golf course as they have done an excellent job of doing so, considering they follow the 20-centimeter snow standard you set forth and they carry out their insurance obligations and the cost of the insurance. Leave all of the remaining trails the way they are. If they choose to groom them, that is their choice, but that choice comes with the realization that there may be multi-purpose users along those trails. This can easily be accomplished with multi-purpose trail signage throughout the network. As a side note, both last year and this year, the grooming of bush trails happened too early and too often, which each year caused very hazardous conditions in many spots with bare exposed sand and rocks. Should the groomers still wish to have an exclusive network, they will have to source some property and create new trails for an exclusive cross-country ski network similar to that of Pine Falls and Grand Beach. But with the advantage that should they source new land and make new trails, their network can hook up to the golf course, which approximately has 3.5 kilometers of groomed trails already. So that's my recommendation, that basically they have the golf course now, why do they want the trails? Which we've used as, for the last 100 years in the RM as multi-use.
All right, if I may address a few issues.
Yep.
You were talking about the Facebook group. For reasons known only to the administrators, for instance, I have been banned from and completely blocked from that specific Facebook page since before the election. So to tell me that that's a fair representation, I'm not buying it. There we go. Okay, moving on. Moving on. Some of the conversation on that site that I am made aware of from time to time is incorrect, ill-informed, tends to border on slander from time to time, and could be viewed as cyberbullying. What is true is our trails have been used, as you point out, by many different groups for decades, and they've been used cooperatively, which is what we all want. There is room within our community for everyone to use those trails cooperatively. Councillor Axworthy is working on the different trails groups in our community to try and form a trails alliance, something that would benefit the entire community. We're working on mapping. We're working on ways that the trails can be used in different seasons by different individuals, or maybe by all. And to clarify, in February 2017, council permission was granted for the cross-country ski group to groom on the Victoria Beach Golf Course and on other trails in the RM, to also groom, brush, and build connector trails to allow for a large ski loop, regards to their letter and presentation to council on February 14th, 2017. Permission was granted for 1 year. In January 2018, a resident informed council that the groomers were on the golf course on January 27th without permission of council. They had permission of council for 1 year to February 2018. Confusion, however, over the definition of a span of 1 year permission was the issue in my mind. The groomers and myself assumed 1 year meant from February to February. Some members of the previous council and some members of the community felt 1 year meant 1 season. That was vague. That was part of the resolution, and it wasn't clear, and there's blame to go around all over here. The CAO did ask the groomers to cease and desist by phone. There was no letter, there was no email. It was by phone, and the groomers stopped. The conditions in February 2017 were such that the groomers only had 1 opportunity to try their equipment. In 2018, conditions were similar. They tried, I believe, 2 or 3 times. But at that time in February, an MOU was written and signed strictly relating to grooming only on the golf course. It did not involve any other trails in the community. But it did not exclude any of the other trails in the community. They were still allowed to groom. In December 2018, this council approved the VB Snowdrifters snowmobile riders' use of the newly completed AB to BB trail, leading from Safi Road to David Road, up the highway right-of-way to the VB Sports Center. I have a Snowdrifters map. I have a Manitoba Snowman map of the groomed trails within our community for snowmobilers. I have personally skied the groomed trails on the golf course last week. I don't like cross-country skiing that.
Okay.
I'm a weak skier at the best. The groomed trails were a bonus and much appreciated. We ran into 9 other skiers, our 2 dogs, and there were other skiers using the trail behind the back lane on 8th Avenue. That trail, according to my sources in Public Works, has never been a snowmobile trail. It was only cleared this year for the cross-country groomers. There is room for everyone on our trails. Snowmobile enthusiasts have enjoyed hopping on their machines from their own homes and using the municipal roads, ditches, and paths as their playground for decades. No one wants to stop them from doing that. Why is it acceptable, though, for cross-country ski enthusiasts to not be able to enjoy the same pleasure of stepping outside their door to use groomed ski trails, instead of driving out of the RM to go to the Pine Falls or to go to the Grand Beach trails? I'm only aware of 3 people who have complained directly to council about groomed ski trails. The quiet voices who enjoy the groomed trails also need to be considered by our community and by our council. We need to hear what the Trails Alliance has to say, and a clear plan for our community's trails needs to be put in place so that we can all continue to enjoy them. As I said a little earlier, there's a lot of blame and a lot of poor planning to throw around on this issue, from the cross-country groomers to the snowmobile users to previous council to vague resolutions to uninformed expectations and Facebook falsehoods. All trails on the municipal land are under the jurisdiction of the municipality, not Red River North Trails, not Trans-Canada Trails. And it's up to the council today to provide guidance and expectations on those trails. We need to consider the safety, the common courtesy, and the respect for the various users of our trails. Steve, did you want to add anything? Thank you.
I've also been banned from that group. And the one thing I would note about Facebook is even more so than the due diligence that the cross-country ski trail did with getting all these signatures, is that Facebook is notorious for targeting the people that you want to vote for you. So I am also aware of several other people who have been banned from that group because of, during the election, there were some political views, and they were banned during that time as well. So I'm not trying to put a political spin on this, but all I'm trying to say is that it's targeted to the people who are going to vote for that. But I have over 100 signatures here saying that they would support having ski trails in our municipality. This was done before Michael and Maureen went out and purchased the groomer. I'd also like to point out that before that group got involved, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 connector trails that were not built at that time, and that has been completed since they've been involved. And it wasn't just the cross-country ski trails group; it was also several others. But they banded together because they realized that there was a weakness in the trail system, and that you had to go all the way outside of the trail system just to come back in. So because of their work, as well as others, we now have a much more integrated system. And I have this map for you if you'd like. Beyond that, they have been extremely supportive of the Trails Alliance. And the main reason for that is because of these issues, because they come up. So they, along with a couple of others, have been very vocal in working together, and they have helped in getting us this GPS map so that we can start working together. And tomorrow I have a meeting with all of the groups that are directly involved with Victoria Beach, and we're going to be working towards trying to figure out what we can do with this trail system so it's as multi-use, multifunctional, and integrated with everything that happens in the RM. I'd also like to address the issue of the skiers. In that, yes, I do accept the fact that snowmobilers have been using the trails for 50 plus years, as long as snowmobiles have been around. I would submit that skiers have been using those trails much longer, and does it give them exclusivity to that area? Absolutely not. So we can start pointing fingers, but if we want to go back in time, well then we're looking at hikers, we're looking at everything, and we're just going to be starting to point the fingers. It does not help on Facebook or anywhere to be coming over and attacking one group or the other. And I'm not just saying to you, I'm saying this to everybody who is just going at each other's throats. It's actually slowing municipal business down because we have to put out these fires where people just simply can't communicate. And I'd also want to very clearly say this. I am the councillor that is responsible for trails. I don't use the trail system. So I'm as neutral as they come. So when people are calling other councillors to try to discuss the trail system, that's abusing the system. I am the councillor, and I will relay those messages, all of your concerns, all of them, to everybody else. But come to me and I will help you as best as I possibly can. Sorry, I just a little bit frustrated with this topic. I do apologize. I am getting a little bit emotional. In terms of having Michael and Maureen having my ear, the only reason that they have my ear is because they've been talking to me. But my ear is open to everybody. I don't give them exclusive privilege, and we've also had our arguments to this date. We've already addressed the cease and desist order. I just want to go through this real quick because I had several notes. I absolutely do not blame this. I have not blamed the snow drifters at all. I have not blamed the snowmobilers. What I have done was just simply said, I heard people who said that it may have been the snowmobilers. That was just me saying that I have heard people say that, and I've also heard from the other side. And then a couple of final points is that the trail that's going along the 8th Avenue, there is a no motorized vehicle area or no more motorized vehicle signage in that area. Actually, I do want to raise one final point because I know that this is apparently a really large thing of contention in terms of the golf course. And there was an email that was received by the office today from Carl, the gentleman who takes care of our golf course, and the message to them was relayed this way: "Hi Carl, sorry to bother you again. Can you please advise if you noticed any damage to the golf course this past spring from the cross-country grooming equipment? Thanks very much." And the response from Carl, again the person who looks after this, said, "I didn't see any damage to the course last spring." So there is no damage being done. They have followed the process to the letter. And again, there is blame on both sides, absolutely, as Penny said, but they have gone through the full process. And I ask anybody who has any concerns to contact me and again, go through the full process. Thank you.
Steve, that golf course basically was groomed once last year. So there is going to be no damage, okay? So of course, if it's groomed once, you're not going to have a problem, okay? So we'll see what happens after this year, depending on how much grooming. So I think you have to get more informed on what's going on with how many times things are being groomed, okay, on your side. Okay, the back lane trail, I have a cottage on 8th Avenue, okay, 223 8th Avenue. I've been using that back lane trail for 20 years on my snowmobile, 10 years on my cross-country skis. There's been no issues until Michael Kraus and Ron Ritzma took it under their own agenda that they want exclusive trails. Everything was perfect harmony here, but everything has to be perfect for them. They have the golf course. They want the trails, right? Can you say that? Do they want exclusive trails?
We're not going to get, no.
I'm not going to comment on that, but actually no, sorry, I will comment on that. In terms of how I've talked to them, they've never once said anything or talked about exclusivity whatsoever to me.
Okay, so then what is the issue with the trails right now then? I have a text right here that I can show you from Ron Ritzma saying they will demand exclusivity on the trails.
We have never received that request, period.
Okay, so
Council has never received it.
So what is their agenda then? Can you open up? Because if Steve's a part of the Trails Committee, can he start to talk what's their agenda? Because they've got the golf course right now, but what's the next step? And a lot of people, Penny, I know you're not on that Facebook site, but you seem to claim that there's a lot of falsehoods going on with what's happening. How do you know that if you're not on it?
Believe me, others are, and I get the information.
Okay, and have you
My-
seen it? Have you seen the information? Because there's a lot of people out in the community speaking their mind on this. And it's
Yes.
just a start, because if you can't take a look at this here and see multi-use trails, there's 77 people, and that's a spectrum of all people there. They're not told, they are saying what they want. You've got 5 cross-country skiing only.
But I'm not going to get into a debate about that. All I know is that Facebook is not where you go for information, not for the correct information.
But it gives a good idea of what the community is
It's a
thinking.
very biased idea.
And why is that?
How many people in this room had said to you, I was also blocked from that site? So I'm sorry, it's not an equal representation. It's not a fair representation. If you want to be a part of the solution, please talk to Steve. Please come and if his meetings are available, I'm not sure when the next one is, it might be Wednesday. Talk to Steve, bring your ideas forward and work together with the other group. I'm not seeing
Well,
that happening on either side
Well,
right
yeah,
now.
but nobody's asked us though, because there seems
Are
to
you
be.
part of a trails group?
We have the VB skiers group.
Are you part of the VB skiers group?
Yes.
We've never heard of that group before.
Okay. But-
Sorry, Stuart, you're not at the table right now. Stuart, thank you very much. Stuart, you're not at the table right now. Thanks very much.
I'm sorry, I do have to cut in. If you feel so strongly about this, and I have been saying since day one that I wanted all the trails associations to come over and talk to me, and I'm sorry because right now I am actually starting to really lose my patience. If you have been here since day one and you've heard me say this over and over again, and if you really are as informed as possible, especially paying attention to Facebook, then why have you not come to me? I have been asking and begging for everybody to come to me, and then it just so happens that there's another one and another one and another one. But the people who have come to me and who are actively engaged in dialogue with me will get my attention first and foremost. If you want to properly establish a group that may not have up until this time existed, or maybe it does, either way, then come to council, write to council, have these people write me personally. I will go through every single last word. I will still, even though I'm upset right now, I will still go through this entire thing. And tomorrow, I promise you that I will bring this up in our Trail Alliance meeting tomorrow. But I think that up until this group comes to me, then this conversation is over. Because if you truly are a part of another group, then come to the meeting tomorrow.
Okay. What time's the meeting?
The meeting's at 1 o'clock.
Okay. Perfect. In the city?
In the city.
Yes, in the city.
See, the other thing too, and I remember the November 20th meeting that basically, and Erwin had mentioned the importance of just not groups, but also individuals stating their case on it too. So that's also important, and I really applaud you for saying that, because it just shouldn't be groups, but it should be also individuals coming out and speaking against this. Or for, like, we are a community here. We got a great community. We've got 2 people that are, as I said, I have texts there saying that they basically want these exclusive. Now, basically, if they're out on the trails there, what about the walkers or the snowshoers if they walk on their tracks? Because we hear that continually, that there's issues there. Now, have you guys, just bringing this up there, have you guys, and this is the funny thing, it happened on Facebook, and or basically with all of the supporters of basically Michael Kraus and things like that, talking about how great the trails were. But nobody seemed to be concerned about the barricade that was set up that could have hurt somebody in this community, little kids or whoever was there. Like, has that been addressed? It seems pretty suspicious who did this.
We have not addressed that. That was, according to you, put up and then taken down almost immediately. That's something that the police have looked into, is my understanding. So we're leaving it in their hands. But unless you have anything new to add to this, I do really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time, you, Patty, and Stuart, to write your comments down, to make your presentations. And I think Steve now has that information. We all have the information. I hope we can work together going forward to make sure there is room for everyone.
Well, actually, Penny, I don't think it's going to be a problem. We haven't had an issue up until the last couple of years when 2 people tried to get or cause some type of issue here, that everybody coexisted within the community here. And as I said earlier, I've been riding that back trail on 8th Avenue for 20 years. No issues at all. Skiing it for 10 years, no issues at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks very much. Any other comments before poor Matt gets a chance to sit down?
Steve, what time's the meeting tomorrow?
If you are part of a group, then it's at 1 o'clock over in the office.
Okay, we'll see you tomorrow then.
Did you want me to
Erwin?
sing again?
Happy
No.
trails.
Happy, yeah. Thanks very much, Matt.
But seriously, you know, we have a wonderful resource here. We've got a great spot. So why people can't cooperate and work together is just really sad, really sad. I think, you know, I commend Steve for his efforts to try and organize and to bring the various groups and individuals together, and I think there's a very good chance if we can just get them all talking, that we can resolve things. But, you know, people have to learn to respect other people's property, other people's activities, and recognizing that we're all a little different, but we're all part of a great community.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to accounts and finances. Thank you, Matt. Be it resolved, the following list of accounts be approved for payment. Accounts payable checks 7036 to 7071 in the amount of $34,407.79. December 21st payroll in the amount of $16,457.47, and Visa in the amount of $2,570.27. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Kumka. Any further discussion on this resolution?
Reviewed the list of accounts, and they appear to be in order.
Thank you, Erwin. Call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right. Business arising from the previous meeting. Municipal trails. I believe we've dealt with that unless anyone else has anything further to add on this issue. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with the trail system, the mapping has been completed, is moving along properly. We are looking to try to find all of them. There was, I think, one or two that we have to add in here, but essentially the general map is done. And just one note is that we are going to be looking at doing four activities, a summer and winter map, so in that way everything is represented, and we can have just better information that we can hand out there.
All right. And some clarity. Mike?
Just to, and maybe oversimplify, but sometimes the simplest is the best. In my mind, we have three separate areas here in the RM. We have the general multi-use path system that is to be used by all who choose to use it, how they choose to use it. It's been said by a couple of people at least the last 50, 60 years, we've been able to use the trail system cooperatively, respectfully, and safely for the last several decades. Back in November, the skate skiers asked for a special track to be groomed on the first and second holes of the golf course. With the remaining 8 holes, the remaining 7 holes available to the traditional cross-country skiers to groom tracks around the remaining 7 holes, and leaving the skate skiers. And I understand, if anybody's ever tried skate skiing, you need a fairly wide berth depending on the length of your skis. I felt that fair was fair. Give them the first 2 holes. So we have 2 holes for the skate skiers. We have 7 holes for the conventional cross-country skiers, and the remainder of the municipality is for multi-use.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Anything else, gentlemen, on the trails? Okay. Moving on to other business. On our agenda, Stantec quote, re the Albert Beach Disaster Financial Assistance Restoration Work. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council accept the quote dated December 18th, 2018 from Stantec Consulting Limited in the amount of $6,600, GST excluded, for engineering services with respect to property restoration and dike top-up on the Thompson property under outstanding disaster financial assistance claim 200201482. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Axworthy, seconded by Councillor Bartmanovich. Any discussion on this resolution?
Raymond, can you just clarify? My understanding is that's going to top up the north-south road that runs on the west edge of the Poirier's property, and it'll go north to pretty much to the lake. And will it also include the, we were talking about topping up the eastern portion that runs next to Champagne's property? Is that going to be included?
That's correct. It's going to join up with the dike that was just built on Mitch Poirier's land, so that it'll effectively protect both sides of Albert Beach. And it's to fix also the damage that was done to Mr. Thompson's property under that DFA claim originally, when they had to do emergency dike protection, which left his property quite a few feet steep on the road bed. So that needs to be fixed also. So that's all. It's basically this is for Stantec to come up with a plan of action, an engineered plan of action.
And we have funds available from a grant of some sort that would pay for the engineering plus the subsequent work.
Yeah, there's a
once done.
balance. There's a balance of about $88,000 left that's available, and we've got an extension till the end of August.
So this is not likely to impact on our budget in terms of extra costs for us, or if it is, it'll be minor.
That's what we're hoping.
Right.
Any further discussion on this resolution? All right, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda, the 2020 Board of Revision resolution. Be it resolved that the 2020 Board of Revision be set for Wednesday, October 9th, 2019 at 1 p.m. And that's always in the RM office in Winnipeg. Or it has been. I guess it doesn't have. I guess it is this year too. Yeah. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Kumka. Be it resolved, the 2020 Board of Revision be set for Wednesday, October 9th, 2019 at 1 p.m. All those in favor? Oops, sorry, any discussion? My apologies. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you, carried. Moving on, Red River Basin Conference. A resolution. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council authorized Reeve McMorris to attend the Red River Basin Commission annual conference to be held next week, January 15 to 17, 2019 in Grand Forks. Further be it resolved, the municipality cover all associated costs to attend said conference, including reimbursement for meals and travel per policy 2019/1. Mover and seconder, please. The meals are all included. Yeah. Moved by Councillor Axworthy, seconded by Councillor Bartmanovich. Any discussion on this issue?
I, for one, based on Penny's previous involvement with this initiative and this organization, I think that we're going to be well represented there.
Thank you very much. It is a good organization, and I'm the secretary of their, or the treasurer, pardon me, of their group. in the North Basin, North Chapter, and this is a big one. There's people there from both sides of the border, International Institute from Sustainable Development, and yeah, it's really a good conference. So, any other comments or concerns, Graham?
I also appreciate the fact that Penny's willing to make the time and effort to attend this on our behalf. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. Moving on, Red River North Trails Association letter of support. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council provide the Red River Trail North Association with a letter of support in principle for the following projects within the municipality: 6 squeeze gates and trail enhancements along PR 504 from Clearwater Cove to Sunrise Beach Road and from Wanasing Beach to David Road on the east side of PTH 59. A mover and a seconder? And we can discuss. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Kumka. Discussion. Can I start the discussion? First, I would like to thank publicly Mr. Dan Lester, who's the Executive Director of Red River North Trails, for his determination and dedication as a volunteer in getting the AB to Victoria Beach, AB to VB Trail completed this past November and December. He could not be here today, so he asked that Council consider the following project, which was noted in our resolution. I have some concerns in that the squeeze gates are not mandatory. I have spoken with a Trans-Canada Trail representative from Saskatchewan, and she explained to me that we could use boulders, we could use squeeze gates, or we could use signage. I spoke with the guys at Public Works about this, and they feel we could have this locally designed and built for much less than $5,000 per squeeze gate. They would, however, provide a lot of safety, especially on the highway entrances. So it's something to consider, maybe our own design. Number 2 is the trail enhancements from PR 504, etc. I would argue that the RM may be able to improve the treadway surface with gravel or 3/4 down. We do not have anything budgeted right now for our trails within our community. And I'm not completely satisfied that the trails mentioned require further enhancements from Manitoba Infrastructure. Perhaps the trail portion between Clearwater and Sunrise could be revisited and moved, or because it's either going to be on the highway right away or it's going to be on private property, is my understanding. So maybe we should reconsider that part of the Trans-Canada Trail and maybe put it on in a different location if at all possible, because right now cyclists, walkers already use the shoulder of the highway, and they have for years. So do we need Trans-Canada Trail involved? Do we need Red River North Trails involved? These trails are all within our community. So those are my concerns. Mike?
Well, anybody who drives 504, by the way, it's not a highway, it is a provincial road. There are no shoulders. The road is an absolute shambles, but anybody who drives down 504 will probably see me being walked by my dog every morning. And we managed to very safely traverse the span between Clearwater and Sunrise, as well as Sunrise through King Edward, through Wanasing, and point south from there. And I'm kind of curious as to just what exactly the enhancements are that they speak of. I would love to see a dedicated pedestrian and cyclist lane on the west side of 504 from the end of 504 all the way to 59 personally, and just wondering if somehow we could dovetail the two, if anything.
So you're saying on the west side of 504, not the east side?
It seems like the west side would make the most sense.
I just have to look at Steve's map here.
I'm not overly thrilled with the squeeze gates. I think that we can find something much more conducive to I think we would find something far more conducive to our culture. I think at this point to be putting squeeze gates in before we have even done a proper planning session to understand exactly what we're looking for the trails is just sort of it's putting more kinks in the cog. I'd also point out that the communication has not been directly to me and therefore has not gone through the Trails Alliance. So therefore I cannot vote for this.
Graham? Irwin?
The resolution calls for not one but 2 letters of support.
One letter of support for
One
both
letter
projects.
of support on both projects, and there's no specific commitment of funds at the present time by RMVB.
No.
Okay.
We did commit $35,000 for the last AB to VB trail
Yep.
in the last budget, and we paid that out, as you know, a few months ago.
Yep.
But there is nothing going forward, nor were we aware that we were really going to be
Okay.
requested for that.
And we covered some overhead costs as
We
well,
did.
or in the process of doing that. The connection through to Wanasing remains a bit of a gray area that might require more discussion. Regardless of whether this resolution passes or not, I wonder if we could consider expanding it a little bit to provide a letter of thank you to the Lester family for their contribution in response to a request for SIM.
Okay, Irwin?
Again, to clarify at this point, the resolution is simply indicating support for two projects that Mr. Lester is trying to push forward. He has been extremely successful at getting money from various levels of government and from TransCanada Trails. We're not committed. We support the project in theory. When the actual money is approved, then that's when the hard negotiations will occur in terms of what actually happens. There was a fair bit of that discussion went on, last spring with respect to the connection and discussions. We're not agreeing to anything. We're not committing any money. We're saying we support the idea of expanding and putting these 2 safety things. As far as whether it's swing gates or whatever they're called or boulders, I mean the concern is safety, and I'm sure we can figure out a reasonable way to accomplish that. So I would be in support of the motion and see if we can't get some extra money coming in to assist us with these 2 projects.
But if we do that, then we're more so committed to the projects.
If we don't like what's being proposed in the end, we don't have to vote for it.
Okay. Any other comments on this?
I'm just going to go and say it again. If you don't follow the process, then you don't get a yes. As far as I'm concerned, that's as clear as it can possibly get. You don't skip. You don't skip the process just because you want something. You don't contact others outside of the process just because you want something. You have to follow the procedure, and the procedure hasn't been conducive to the requirements that we've laid out. And I think on to that extent, to me, it has to be a no.
Mike, anything to add before I call the question?
Again, in principle, I support any initiative that improves and enhances our trail system. When it comes down to it, I'll want to know a lot more of the details before I go ahead and say yay. Thanks.
Okay. If we're all comfortable with our comments so far, I will ask the question, are we prepared to endorse this resolution? Do you want me to read it over again? Yes. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council provides Red River Trail North Association with a letter of support in principle for the following projects within the municipality: 6 squeeze gates and trail enhancements along PR 504 from Clearwater Cove to Sunrise Beach Road and from Wanasing Beach to David Road on the east side of PTH 59. Call the question. All those in favor of supporting this resolution? 2. All those against? Mike, did you vote?
I did not vote. Can I just have another minute, please?
You certainly can.
Madam Reeve, I'm not convinced that it has to be squeeze gates that have to be used for traffic control. We have used boulders quite successfully in other areas of the RM for a while. So while I would support some kind of traffic control, I'm not 100% sure that I can get behind exclusively squeeze gates and just squeeze gates as a solution.
Can I put forward a friendly amendment to change the word from squeeze gate to traffic control?
Sorry, hang on. Sorry, Mike. I think this isn't really our, well, it is our resolution, but that's not what he has asked for. He has asked for squeeze gates. When I did talk to Mr. Lester about this, the boulders that are currently close to the Highway 59 entrance and exit were put there by Mr. Lester's group, and he will remove them if we don't want them there. Or if he will remove them if he feels he would like to remove them. Our conversation was such that if we didn't want to support this, he could also remove the rocks. It was not by any way a threat. It was just he put the rocks there, and they do cost money, and they are his rocks, and he can take them back.
Well, I'd just like to see maybe a little bit more flexibility, because I sense that there is some problems with squeeze gates, but at the end of the day, what we're looking for is some funding to provide some traffic control, and maybe if we just use traffic control systems, that would give us enough flexibility at some point. If we don't get the money, it's the story's over.
All right, so I'll go back to the resolution. Is council fine with me adding in as a friendly amendment, instead of squeeze gates, traffic control system?
As a comment?
Yes.
I agree with that as well. I think it's more important that the resolution be something we're comfortable with rather than something that's been suggested to us.
Okay, good point. All right, so be it resolved. Sorry, Steve.
Just one more. I just want to reiterate one more time. This has not gone through the trail lines. We've had no time to plan for this whatsoever. This is a request and a demand. So again, I think that if Mr. Lester wants to come over to the meeting tomorrow, which he said no, as well as the last time, then by all means he can be a part of the planning process. But by putting squeeze gates inside the municipality, we are preventing people from going where we are. And if we think that this conversation before was something, just wait until you have 6 squeeze gates around the RM and all the snowmobilers demanding access to the trail system. Because that's what the intent is for. Down by the entrance here, that's fine. We can put a fence. We can put about 30 different types of traffic control things. I have no issue with that, especially if it's gone through the proper planning process. But to throw them all around here, there's going to be a lot more people at that podium, and this has not gone through the proper process. And I only saw this email when Raymond forwarded it to me. He's trying to bypass the process.
Okay. All right. Okay, council, here we go. I still do have an amended resolution on the floor. Be it resolved, the Arm of Victoria Beach Council provide the Red River Trail North Association with a letter of support in principle for the following projects within the municipality: 6 squeeze gates for OR traffic control system, and the trail enhancements along PR 504 from Clearwater Cove to Sunrise Beach Road, and from Wanasing Beach to David Road on the east side of PTH 59. Please remember, you can also table a resolution if you don't feel that you have enough information or you would like to wait for more information. So I will call the question one more time. All those in favor of this resolution? I'm not. We can also have it brought forward again at another time, if Mr. Lester comes back to us with something different.
You know, I think many of us would welcome the opportunity to get more specific details.
Okay, so I think not seeing any hands going up in support of this. Raymond, can you help me? Can we table this if, or should we? Yes.
Oh, just leave it. Table it, it'll come back up at the next meeting, whenever the chair chooses.
Or we put it on the agenda. So, all right, folks, should we call? So, do we need another resolution to table it? Okay.
Graham and I would like to propose that we withdraw our current sponsorship of the resolution, and then it be tabled, and that we advise Mr. Lester that we'd like him to make a presentation to the board.
All right, Council, I have in front of me a new resolution. Be it resolved that the request from the Red River North Trails Association be tabled. Mover and a shaker, please. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Kumka. Be it resolved the request from the RRNTA be tabled. All those in, any discussion? Mike.
Just that since the next council meeting is in Winnipeg, if we could invite Mr. Lester to appear as a delegation.
Yeah, that might work. All right, all those in favor to table the resolution? You don't have, okay, all carried. All right. Next on our agenda, not included on your agenda, is the holdback release from the Albert Beach Dike project. Be it resolved that the Arm of Victoria Beach Council authorize release of the general holdback of $14,652.78 and the seeding holdback of $5,420.11 to El Chabot Enterprises with respect to the construction of the Albert Beach Dike. Moved by Councillor Axworthy, seconded by Councillor Bartmanovich. Any further discussion on this resolution? Irwin.
Raymond, what's the normal holdback delay period?
It's 45 days, and it's a general holdback, which is 7.5% of the value of the contract. And the seeding one is supposed to be next year, but we're getting this grant from the Manitoba Building Fund, and that's going to expire. They're not going to be dealing with reimbursement of expenses into the spring or summer of 2019, which is why we want to release that holdback so that we can subsequently claim our 90% share of it. And then we'll deal with that with Mr. Chabot come the spring.
So we have an undertaking from Chabot that he will complete the seeding in the springtime.
Yeah.
They weren't able to complete it this fall because of the weather. You don't put seed down when there's snow on the ground.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor or opposed to this resolution? All those in favor? I guess I thought you could have done. Okay, thank you, carried. Next on our agenda, a funding request from the Victoria Beach 100th anniversary. Be it resolved, the arm of Victoria Beach Council authorized payment of $9,000 to Drew Allwright Contracting for purchase of materials required to construct the 100th anniversary interpretive panels. Further be it resolved that the funding for the said expenditure be drawn from the Community Anniversaries Building Communities through Arts and Heritage Grant received by the municipality. All right, moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Kumka. Any discussion?
Again, just for clarity, we did receive approximately how much money from the Heritage Grant?
This year we received, pardon me, $16,900, and next year we will receive $23,800, so $40,700 in total from the grant, but only some of it can be used towards this capital project, and some of it must be used for this capital project.
And no burden on taxpayers?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We do have to budget in 2019
Wait till we
for
see the bar bill.
cash bar. We do have to budget in 2019 for the 100th anniversary. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next is the highway welcome sign, and I has asked for this to be on the agenda more so that the people here could have a look at a sign that we're working on with a local graphic artist, and this sign will be, we hope, a sign, maybe not this one, but we hope will replace the old brown Victoria Beach highway sign as you just cross Safi Road that has been there for years, decades. And with our 100th anniversary coming, we thought it would be a nice idea. 2 years ago, I've started this project to update our sign, so I will happily pass this around if you want to have a look at it and give us your input. Moving on, just to announce to the public that we have new Public Works Office Administrator, Elaine Fletcher, has joined our group. She started on Monday, yesterday, and she will also be helping out Public Works and our fire department with administrative duties. And we really welcome her on board. I think she'll be a great asset. Any comments on that regard, anyone? Mike?
Despite mine and Graham's presence at Public Works trying to help her out, she actually did manage to get something done, which is a true testament to her ability to jump in and get the job done as needs to be done.
Right, and she is permanent part-time, so 3 days a week.
As a comment, I think we made the right choice. There was an exhaustive search and rigorous interviews, and she was the unanimous choice, and I think it's going to go very well. And it's one more indication, or a little bigger footprint of the council here in the RM, or as I like to call the real world. We think it's a positive step forward.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to correspondence. Any comments in correspondence? Not seeing anything. Erwin, are you checking? Or are you fine? Okay. Nothing? Okay.
There was one item of correspondence from the Allard Library, and we'll be considering that as part of our budget.
Yeah. Yeah. When we discuss our budget, we'll be discussing grant requests and grant applications, and that will be in a couple of weeks. We're going to start our budget negotiations, so we're looking forward to that. All right, moving on to question period, and we ask that you please try and keep your questions to what we've discussed today, and remind you that you can send your questions in by email, by e-request, give us a phone call. Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Okay, Stuart Justa, and I have a few questions. First of all, I thought Mike's statement about multi-use trails was quite concise, accurate, and I'd like to know, in order to settle this whole dispute or problem, if the council can simply declare the trails to be multi-use. This will settle everything.
I don't think we're ready to do that at this point in time. When we're working with the Trails Alliance, that's what we hope to be able to do moving forward. I think some trails may have to be designated for specific activities. We're not sure if that will happen, but I think it might make some sense going forward to avoid some of these conflicts. It may make it worse, may make it better.
Haven't we already declared the golf course to be off limits for snowmobilers? Therefore, those trails are exclusively
They
for
are.
cross-country skis. So, you know, your suggestion would run contrary to that.
Well, actually, that's your decision, not mine. In other words, the snowmobilers have never been on the sort of the golf course ever, and the only snowmobilers that's been on it are the people who are grooming it right now.
Right.
So that's not an issue, really.
Right.
Okay, it's not, the golf course is not part of the trail system, it seems.
Okay. You had another question, Stuart?
Yeah, a number. Actually, you ran through some dates very quickly when you're discussing the fact that on January the 27th, 2018, last year, they took their groomer onto the golf course when there was no memorandum of agreement allowing them to go on the golf course. Before, they had to purchase insurance. At that date, they had not purchased insurance. Therefore, they were in violation of the use of the golf course by putting a snowmobile on it. And the council at that time, or the municipality rather, had a cease and desist order issued to them.
There was no cease and desist order issued.
But
It was a
they were
phone call,
ordered not to go back on the golf course.
and they did. That phone call was made. They did not go back on the golf course. Their assumption, and some members of previous council's assumption, was that they did have permission to be on the golf course for 1 year, from February 14th, 2017 to February 14th, 2018.
Well, that was not the case, because obviously the council said you can't go on the golf course. You say members, that might mean you. It doesn't mean the other members of the council. In other words, there was no insurance purchased. This was necessary.
That MOU was signed in mid-February 2018 by...
That's right,
That's right.
after the 27th. So they illegally took their...
No, they didn't. They had permission by previous council by resolution to be on the golf course.
Only if they had insurance.
No, that was not in the original resolution.
But
It was not in the original resolution. I can show it to you.
yeah, well, I'd like to see everything. I'd like to also see the memorandum of agreement that you currently have signed with them, because they're supposed to have insurance now, do they?
My understanding is they do. That was with the previous CAO. My understanding is they did provide that insurance.
So they actually have insurance.
It's my understanding.
Okay, fair enough. And another question for Stephen. Okay, you claim that there are groups that should contact you and this and that. Well, I always thought, as Irwin has said, that is a public voice for each individual. But I did give you on the 20th of November a list, a group, and a contact information. I've not heard from you at all. I handed it to you at the conclusion of the meeting.
Sent an email that night, though.
Pardon?
I sent an email that night.
To me, I haven't received it.
I apologize. I did send it. We'll talk after the meeting. I'll get it again.
Okay, because basically, if you have to be part of a group, well, there is a group, and we have not had any say into this issue at all. And also, I think that the whole council actually has the right to address the trails issue. And it shouldn't necessarily go through you, because what you provide with information may be incorrect to the members of the council.
Stuart, we have asked Steve, and he has agreed to take on the role of being the Trails
No, I agree.
Committee.
Yeah,
and
but-
he is responsible to bring that information back to council.
But what if he brings back information which is incorrect?
Well, then he wouldn't be doing it maliciously or deliberately.
No, I realize that, but it can still mislead members of the council.
Well, just to talk about this tonight, actually, so I have a copy of the insurance here. I have a copy of the memorandum of understanding. I've put together an entire folder for all of the people sitting at the tables in front of you. I have a copy of the minutes that have gone over the memorandum of understanding, so that yes, in fact, I can that they can see this. I have put forward a letter for them from Carl showing that there was no damage to the golf course.
Yeah.
I put another thing for the rest of the council saying that trails on Victoria Beach public land are approved signage and its location to be approved by the RM of Victoria Beach, and that specifically was from this, which they had given with when they submitted their memorandum of understanding. This is all for council's information to deal with tonight. I also gave them a copy of the additional trails which have been built since the creation of the cross-country skis. I gave them an entire letter of all the signatures that came forward. I gave them everything that they could possibly need.
Really? Okay, look at that petition. The majority of people who have signed it do not live or have any connection with Victoria Beach. They're not property owners.
I'm looking at the names and I'm looking at the addresses right now, and I can tell you that's not true.
Well, I'd like to see it then, because I saw it when it was being distributed. I've seen it too. And that was not my impression at all. Okay? Now, the other thing too is that you stated, okay, as Matt stated to you, they did not go on the golf course last year. So Carl's statement that, well, they haven't damaged it, is immaterial. If you're not doing something, you can't cause damage.
Stuart, you said yourself, in January 27th,
They went on it once.
2018, they were on the golf course,
One
right?
time only.
And then after that, conditions were such, after the MOU was signed, conditions were such
That's
that
right,
they
but
did not go back on the golf
That's
course.
right, but it was
That's right.
not used, in other words. Also, they did not
Okay.
put the skating track on. They only
No.
put a classic track on. Now, the other thing, okay, the final thing is, happy note, Lise Barassa and I went out skiing today. We were the only two people on the trails. The golf course right now, you cannot ski on it. The reason you can't ski on it,
Blown in.
there are no tracks on it. The reason there are no tracks on it is that when they took out their groomer in December onto the golf course, they went over and obliterated every ski track that was on the golf course. There's no point remaking them. This means nobody can ski on the golf course on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of this week. There are no tracks on it.
Stuart, if you ski on the golf course every day and make your own tracks, how can you possibly say that no one else can ski on the golf course?
Right, okay, because you have to make them. It takes about 2 hours,
a lot
and
of
you're
work.
skiing with a snowshoe, basically, on your feet. So why should I, you have to tramp it out. You've never done it, obviously. I have for years.
Great, but there's also room, when I skied on those trails last week, there's room for cross-country ski trails, people who want to make their own trails. There's room beside the cross-country trails that are groomed.
But they
They haven't been
obliterated the other
grooming,
ones.
they haven't groomed since about the first part of January.
Right.
So the
We haven't
wind has
had
been
any
blowing
snow.
so much that there's no way there would be trails on the course today.
There would be. If I went out
Okay.
on Monday, there would be. But I'm not going to do it because they will immediately be obliterated come this weekend. So why should I do it?
Well, then you could use the groom trails.
They don't exist. Right now, they do not exist. You understand?
So you should, isn't that what you want?
What do you mean, what do I want?
You don't want groom trails.
I don't want groom trails, but they're going to
So-
be on there. Okay, I accept that now. Right?
Okay.
But right now, I cannot ski on the golf course, even though they supposedly are grooming it.
You just said you could ski on the golf course. You could make your own trails on the golf
No, but
course.
that's not
We're going
skiing.
around in circles.
I have to tramp okay, Penny, enough.
Yes,
you cannot-
enough. I agree with you. Enough.
Oh, boy. All right, enough.
We will not be releasing the memorandum of understanding either. That's a private document between one group and the RM. That's not a public document.
I never had any. Sorry, I never had any intention of making any of this public. This was all for everybody in council and council alone. I did bring copies of the map to be only shown here because it is only a draft at this point. But nothing that I've given council will I be submitting to the public unless council has voted on that.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Any other comments or concerns? Question period? Sure. Do you want to come to the mic, please? Could you,
Why is everybody laughing? It's not going to be that bad. Yeah.
go ahead. Could you introduce yourself?
Doug Peterson. I live on 32 East Shore Drive. Just a fast comment and a quick question. You have a picture in front of you, I believe, is for the sign that's going to be.
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to, or could you post that on your website for us so we can all look at it? And if we have a comment or a suggestion, we could simply respond back to you on it. That's all I
Yeah.
wanted.
All right, we can do that. Thank you. Any further questions? All right. I can advise you that our next meeting, we are in the city on Tuesday, January 22nd at 6:30 p.m. at our offices on 1661 Portage Avenue. And we will be going back to our regular schedule in February. The first meeting will be February 5th, 2019, and that will be held in the office in Winnipeg at 6:30. And our second meeting, which is the third Tuesday in February, will be back out here at the senior scene. If you'll let us in at, when we knock on the door. Thanks very much. All right. Motion to adjourn. Be it resolved, the January 8th, 2019 regular council meeting be adjourned. Next regular meeting to be held January 22nd, 2019 at 6:30 at 705 1661 Portage Avenue. Moved by Councillor Randall, seconded by Councillor Kumka. All those in favor of adjourn? Carried. Thank you.